Welcome to Village June, where you'll be getting weekly doses of career tips and hacks, as well as hearing stories of grit, perseverance, and inspiration. My overall mission of this new series is really building community, sharing stories of hope, and bringing everyone closer together by creating a very inclusive environment where everyone feels welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Tuesday. Glad to see you here. If you are just trickling in, please comment below. I see William on the live. Welcome, William. Welcome, Lisa. I'm really excited to be here and welcome my guest. But before we start, I just wanted to tell you what's going on with me and my business. I often forget to talk about all of the exciting projects that I have in store for you guys. Hi, Maria, welcome. But as you know, I love having these lives. I've now been doing these lives for about almost 2 months, and I just love empowering people that come from non-traditional backgrounds who are thriving in the tech industry. My guest, Mariela Delamore, is one of them. And this is my overall passion, is really to empower those underdogs, empower those diamonds in the rough who don't come from the elite background, who didn't have the opportunity to go to top tier universities, but they're thriving in what they're doing. So on that note, I am going to be launching a group coaching program soon. So stay tuned for that. But I really want to tell you the backstory on how I met Mariela. And this was all because I started showing up on LinkedIn every day. I did a 30-day challenge in July. Thank you guys. I see everyone commenting. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just really excited to welcome her because she has been such a great supportive system through this journey of being an entrepreneur and being someone that's pivoting into being like a professional in the tech world into an entrepreneur. And we connected all because of I think it was a post on LinkedIn that we kind of found out that we had mutual connections, and then we just started collaborating. We collaborated just recently with the Mom Project and participated in their Unity Hour. And we're going to talk more about that, but let's welcome her in. Welcome, Mariela.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited. We've known each other now for a few months. Actually, you guys, can you bear with us? Because we're going to go live on Instagram too. So,
yeah. Multi-channel marketing.
Exactly.
We're talking about content repurposing. We've been talking about content repurposing, and I'm like, you don't need to do all the things. You do one thing, and then you broadcast.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Bear with us, guys, because I am not. If anyone has any experience going live on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same time, simultaneously, please let me know if there's a better method on this.
Yes.
Give me a second here. Hello. Hi, Jana. Okay. I'm just so excited. We have a great community here that is tuning in. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, let me know where you're tuning in from. As far as location, let me try to do this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know how to go live on. Hold on one second. I think they actually just changed their format on Instagram, right?
Of going live.
Shoot. IGTV.
And if
What's
not,
that?
or if anything, you want me to try to go live, and then you can just join me?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay. I am going to do this here. Thank you, guys. Let's see.
Marta says multi-channel marketing is the way to go. You go, girls. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
And then ask the mom too, like about doing all the things. And I'm like, how about I do one thing and we just stretch it out? It's like, yeah, we do not have time. So hang on just a sec. I'm going to, now if I go live and you just see me, then you can just join in.
Okay, and then we'll do the formal introduction. Actually,
okay.
let me, you know what? I figured this out. Hold on. Let me go do this. I have to do this. So I gotta figure this out because I need to start going live on Instagram too. Okay, everyone, bear with us. I am now live on Instagram.
Let's see.
So, welcome, you guys. First time, North Carolina. Welcome.
Just going to request to
And then
join.
we'll do the formal introduction. But thank you guys so much. There she goes. How do I do this? How do you request?
I
Okay.
requested to join you. And
Awesome.
all right. And I was going to put a title in here as well. All right.
Oh, we're live now on Instagram too. I'm going to tune this down
I'm
because.
just going to turn my volume down too.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us. Okay. We are welcome. Oh, wait. I have the wrong banner. This is okay. This is the beauty of live, you guys.
It's all right. You do it anyway, you guys. Like really,
oh my gosh. This is so embarrassing. No. Sorry, you guys.
No, literally on Friday, I got to like the 6th slide and realized I was not screen sharing. And I was talking about all the stuff. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. We'll forget all the stuff. I hope you remembered it because it was not on the slide.
I remember. I want to give out a shout out to Jennifer. She was there on the Mom Project. She is actually joining the Moms Project rally.
Amazing.
Rise program where she is going to get certified from Google. I think it's a Google training. So congratulations, Jennifer. Okay, let's get started. Mariela, who are you? Tell my community who you are.
I am a marketer, a mother, a full-time life and leadership coach, who also helps women with businesses. But yes, I'm so many things. Mostly that is the result of pivoting, incorporating a lot of the things that I do into the work that I do. But yeah, essentially was a director of marketing, spent 15, almost 16 years doing that across Fortune 500s, mid-sized companies, startups. I co-founded a dating app. And through that process, recognized like I probably spent the first like 10 years of my life building a career and a life that was very what other people expected of me, I guess, as a daughter of an immigrant and me wanting to be this like, people pleaser, and have spent the last few years pivoting, dismantling, rebuilding a life that makes me happy and is really me. And so we're going to talk.
And you are the queen of pivoting.
Yes.
And I really wanted to share Mariela's story because we have a mutual connection. She was actually on my live series, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, Kat Del Carmen, the founder of Follow That Fear podcast. Yes. And this is why I really wanted to, that gave me the insight of who Mariela is as a person, as a business owner, as a mother. And you shared your story on how many times you were reinventing yourself.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. So I think one best way that I can kind of describe it is that if you've ever feel like you built a life and you've written this, book and you're just like, this doesn't feel like me. I'm not sure if it's one piece of it or if it's all of it. Typically, hi, Marta. I love you so much. She is so much to me. She was literally like my first hire at my last company, became like my baby sister, and just love her so much. But essentially what happened with me was I grew up as being the eldest daughter of immigrants. And anyone who kind of knows that role tends to be, you really want to be like the golden child. You want to be your parents brag about you at parties and be like, oh, and she's doing this and she's doing so well. And, I got good grades and did all the things, but also very common in daughters of immigrants. We also don't necessarily get brought up to listen to our intuition, to have a voice, to have a dissenting opinion, to challenge, to stand up for yourself. A lot of it is very much like, do what you're told and don't take up too much space and don't be seen and don't be mean and don't be bossy and, get your dad or your brother a plate. It's just very much in a place of service of others that I didn't even know who I was or like what I wanted. I think I was just in this autopilot of life of saying, okay, I was, my very first boyfriend was the one that I stayed with for 13 years and we got married. And we bought a house. And I said, by the time I'm 30, I want to make 6 figures in a marketing job. And I did that. I literally did all the things that I said that I wanted to do and didn't even ask myself, like, am I happy? is this like what I even want? Because I was successful on paper, but the truth was it was a really unhealthy marriage. And I wasn't happy in the marketing work that I was doing because I was in health insurance. Bless you guys in health insurance. It just was not for me. I was bored to tears and I was like, I don't know where to start. And so sometimes when you don't know where to start, you think about what's the easiest thing I can change right now. So the first thing that I did was like, okay, I want to take care of my body and I want to get fit. And so the pivot there was a little micro pivot, which was just I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to eat better. And I lost 42 pounds in 9 months.
I remember hearing that because you said that's like something tangible that you actually see and track. That's like even more visible. So
yeah. It's just when you feel like you're not sure where to start. It's like, where can you start with something small, tangible that's in front of you that does not feel so out of reach? And sometimes when you're not sure where you want to pivot, I even would ask myself, like, do I even love myself? Am I taking care of myself? Am I treating myself like someone I love? Because if you're not treating yourself like someone you love, it's really hard to advocate for yourself. It's really hard for you to think about what you want. So I feel like whenever you're lost, always come back to like, am I being my own best parent right now? Am I taking care of myself? How am I speaking to myself on a daily basis? Because when you get to this point of treating yourself like someone you love, you will be able to listen to yourself better and advocate. And so me losing the weight was really my awakening to being like, if I don't like something, I can change it. And I'm worthy of feeling good. And so after that, when another thing happened in the marriage, there was a lot of infidelity, I was just like, nope. I moved out, told him he needed to move his things out, and divorced. We were together for 13 years. I literally I'd never dated. This was like my first boyfriend. And divorced. He moved out. I moved to San Diego. I started over, lived the single life for the first time. And at that point, I was like, okay, that's another phase.
mm-hmm.
This very significant relationship, but I have this safety in this job where I'm making 6 figures as a marketing manager for Blue Shield of California, leading marketing for all of their small, their small and mid-sized business products. And so I was like, I feel like this is just, I'm ready to now change this. And so, yes, absolutely. Treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend, for sure. And I think we forget that we tend to treat other people better than we treat ourselves. Like, I always look at the example of like, even something as simple as like fixing myself a plate. I'm like, is this leftovers from like 3 days ago? Would I serve this to like a guest? Why am I doing that?
I do that all the time. I always put myself, like put others, like I told, before we hopped on, I told Mariela, I'm on like probably 4 hours of sleep. And I'm just being open there because but I'm still trying to bring my energy. But you just telling me this is as a reminder that we need to be our own best cheerleader and we have to put ourselves first.
Yep.
Because how can we show up for our clients?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, sometimes it's being your own best cheerleader. It could be you being your own best parent if you didn't have that model to you. And I think that's another, big significant thing is that if self-sacrifice and, breaking promises to self was your norm and that's what your mom did and many of us did, you also learned that that's love. Love is not having need. And so a lot of this may seem like it's separate, but honestly, when you're finding your purpose, it's really coming back to listening to yourself. And am I treating myself like someone I love? And so you just fold it in. And so the next pivot was, I have the 6-figure job. I feel like I want to quit and just travel. Like, I don't know why, but I had this pull. And I know not everyone can do this. But I saved my money for a really long time and said, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to be in London. I had gone to London during my honeymoon to my ex-husband. And I remember having this flash forward deja vu almost of me walking down the street in West London with a gray pea coat, walking to the tube station, going to work. That wound up being my reality. I had a flat in West London. I got a gray pea coat at a charity shop and walking to the tube station, going to work. And sometimes you just don't know how it's going to happen, but don't ignore these little inklings of like, do you see yourself in a different life? Is there something about you that you haven't brought to the table? Are you getting, there's something there. So yeah, I did. I quit. I traveled alone for 9 months across 7, 8 countries in Europe, Western Europe.
Amazing.
And I was alone for the first time in my life, learned how to be in my own presence. And that's how I fell into being an underground hip hop journalist, which was another pivot.
I heard about that.
Being a blogger. Yeah, social media, like doing social media freelance. And then that landed me to like meeting my daughter's father, moving to London, getting my last job as a director of marketing for a London-based recruitment agency, and starting my dating app, and all of these pivots. But it wouldn't have been possible if I tried to design this life back then. I couldn't have done it. Every pivot was necessary to have the life that I have now. So I think if there's one thing I want to like remind you guys of is every detour is necessary. Every decision, every learning experience, every pivot adds to who you are. It adds to your life experience, your wisdom, all of those things. So don't be afraid. There's no way you can get it wrong. I think that's kind of the way that I would phrase it. There's no way you can get it wrong as long as you advocate for yourself and you're like, is this actually what I want, or is it what other people expect of me?
Right. I think that's so important too, is like as far as like being aware of what's like happening in your surroundings. Like you put these goals that you're gonna make 6 figures, you're gonna travel, and it's happening. And it's almost like, okay, should I follow these signs? Like, like what's next for me? But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like as far as how you kind of make those decisions, like I think that everybody has, I mean, I recognize not everybody can just like quit their job. That was definitely pre-child, all of these things, right? Pivoting now looks very different. And I can't just do stuff like that anymore. So I think that it's like just not putting yourself on the perpetual back burner, because I think that tends to happen a lot, is putting yourself on a perpetual back burner. And you tell yourself that it's for a season. You tell yourself that it's for right now, but then it just becomes a way of life. And I think that's another, that's another kind of lesson learned too. And I think moms, we do this like a lot as well, is like the pivot doesn't have to be this big thing. It could just be something you're leaning into or leaning away from. That's often how pivots happen. It's like you're leaning away from something that feels like there's resistance. It just doesn't feel like you. And you're just leaning a little bit more towards what you love to do. That can show up in the workforce. That can show up in your job. You could be involved in like a project that you really, really love. And you're just like, gosh, could I evolve my role this way? Is there that I can apply to? Is there stuff I could do outside of work? I'm not quite sure what this is going to be, but I want to lean in this direction. Just start leaning in that direction.
Yes.
That is how pivots happen. They are little micro pivots that turn into bigger pivots.
I mean, I talk about pivoting all the time. I think that's how we kind of bonded, like through Unity Hour too, is like I spent the majority of my career in sales, retail sales, banking, financial industry. And it wasn't until I became a mother where I had the opportunity to step back, thanks to my husband, because he's a veteran. We were receiving assistance from the government through his GI Bill. Hi, babe, if you're watching, he's on Instagram. He waved. He's on lunch break right now.
Hi,
Jason. If I didn't have that time off, I wouldn't have had that time to reflect and experiment.
Absolutely.
I've always been that person to coach people and motivate people, but I didn't have the opportunity to do it in my previous role, so I had time off. But what I'm saying is, like you said, like experiment and try to see if you could carve out something in your current company, and make it your own, right? So and
you saying about creating space is so important too, because it's really hard to hear yourself when you're filling your days with stuff. And this is 2 moms telling you this. So like, I'm not saying this from some place of privilege of like, when you just have to have a slow, intentional morning and like all this. And I'm like, listen, my daughter hops into bed with me at 5 a.m. I get 5 hours of sleep. Like that's probably not the best, but even I am like, my self-care sometimes, or your self-care can look like not filling something with stuff. Like, give me 15 minutes. I'm going to open up my journal. I'm going to make it an enjoyable experience. I'm going to turn on a soundtrack I really like. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. Like, do something nice for yourself for like 15 minutes, because that is when the ideas come. And I bet you noticed when you have really good ideas, you're probably showering or you're running or you're like whatever this is, you're driving, and it's usually because that's when there's less interference. So if you can
Yes.
learn how to create containers in your everyday life with less interference, you will get inspiration.
I love that. That's so
Yeah.
true. Like, as far as like disconnecting from all of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if it's like a simple thing of putting a time block on your calendar where you schedule nothing.
Yes. Put do not disturb on, whatever that is. And if you can't be at home because you're like, I'm going to be washing dishes or picking up my kids' stuff, like go for a walk or go for a drive or something. There have been so many times that I have voice noted myself an idea while I am driving because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to voice note this because I want to revisit it later. And it's not an idea that I would have if I was like, time block for creativity 15 minutes. Like it's not.
Oh no, yeah. No, I get that. I mean, we're kind of talking about a bunch of different topics, but I know that like there's different like nothing like against them, but I know there's some people where they like do have time blocks for content creation
Yes.
for like LinkedIn posts, which is great. But for me, it's like I like to think on the fly. I write when I'm inspired.
Right. Yes.
I can't just carve out time like from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm just gonna create content and blog.
My next pivot, it's like, no, it really is in just like stopping to allow yourself to listen. And then after that, I would say, depending on what this is, if it's a pivot in your life, it can look a different way. If it's a pivot in your career, then I feel like it's how can I lean into things that I like to do at work? Is it a project that you can take on? Is it someone you can kind of assist? And like, what does that look like? So I think that's something that I've done as well. So maybe, I don't know, I can kind of share like.
Yeah, I want you to continue your story because you didn't finish.
Oh, well.
I want to know, okay, so what happened? So
a little bit of a telenovela.
I know, but if you could just summarize it because I think it's so important to share your story because people are going through it right now.
Yes.
We're going through some challenges. They lost their jobs. They're dealing with this freaking pandemic, and there's a ton of adversity going on right now. But what I was so inspired by you is you had multiple things going on in your personal life, but you still were able to show up for yourself, show up for your daughter, and you figured it out. So why don't you kind of share a little bit more on how you did that and kind of share tips to my community on how they can too?
I can tell the tail end of my story, which, because I was director of marketing at this last company, but my life was very different at the end of those 5 years than they were at the beginning. I literally went through the hardest year of my life. During that, it's funny because my mom just joined on Instagram Live. Hi, mommy. And
hi, mom. I'm Mariela's mom.
She knows because they helped me. I could not have done it without them. And I think just in terms of pivots, like I'm going to tie this back to pivot before I tell the story, that there are some pivots you choose. It is wonderful if you can choose them. And I've chosen them, right? Of opting out of an unhealthy marriage, of leaving a career that didn't fulfill me. But sometimes things happen. And that is where you are pivoting and you didn't choose it, but you're like, right, what do I need to do? Allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to process, but sometimes those things happen. And so the tail end of my story, I often end it here because because when I did move to London, I met my daughter's father, and we got married, and I was like so in love, and we were long distance for 1.5 years. And, I moved to London away from my family, away from everything. So that was a huge pivot in itself of being away from everything I've ever known. But I built a lot while I was there. I was basically being a workaholic. Like I was growing my dating app on the side. I thought this was going to be my thing. I was going to dive into it. We're going to make millions of dollars. But I also was director of marketing. I was building a team. I was hiring people. I was developing them. I was mentoring them. I built an entire marketing foundation for a recruitment agency at the same time. So it helps to be in different time zones. That's what I did professionally. But personally, I was homesick. Personally, I was a little depressed. Personally, it was really hard to live in a country where it was like 7 hours of sort of daylight a day and not having family to lean on and having a husband who worked an opposite schedule to me. So we barely saw each other. And that turned into, our marriage ending suddenly. And then me finding out I was pregnant right after that. Finding out I was pregnant, And so I did not choose this. I did not choose for this marriage to end. And so I basically was like, right, I still am leading a team. I still have the startup. My marriage is over. I'm pregnant. What am I going to do? Am I going to stay in the UK and we're away from everybody and raise my child away from everybody? No. Does that mean I need now quit my job? Because who's going to hire me pregnant in America? Like, and am I going to move back to San Francisco, the most expensive city in the United States, to raise my daughter with no job? Like, how am I going to do this? So that was where my life changed. And honestly, it's the year that I realized I can do anything, even if I didn't plan it. My parents took me in. 6 months pregnant. I gave birth to my daughter. I kept leading my team remotely.
I'm sorry, I'm like tearing up right now because I'm remembering this episode. This
Yeah.
is the moment I like started to cry. I was like listening to the episode on Kat. Kat, if you're watching, shout out to you. But
Pat brought the story out of me. Pat brought the story out of me and Follow That Fear. And she cried as well. And I think I've just told this so many times that like, I don't cry about this part anymore. But I think if anything, I just was like, I need to just deal with the thing that's in front of me. Where am I going to move now? What am I going to do? And I didn't know how. Hi, Martha. She's like, hi, Mama Romy, because she knows my mom is on Instagram. Martha, literally, you're on Instagram Live
right. Hi, Martha, and LinkedIn.
Flat. She took me into her house and was like, you're going to live with me until you get sorted and move back to America. And so that is what that changed everything for me, though, because after that, I was like, you know what? I'm a mom now. I'm not going to worry about this marriage that ended. I'm not going to fixate on what he's doing. I'm not going to, I need to be the mother that my daughter needs. And what does this mean for me? And so when I came back from a very short maternity leave of 3 months, I was like, I'm not going to do what I've been doing, which is running myself into the ground, working ridiculous hours. I came back and I stayed part-time. I worked from home. I would have my calls in the morning because my team was in the UK. And something changed in me after that. My priorities changed. And I was like, I'm not going to just be a workaholic. My tendency is I'm such an achiever that if you give me time to work, I will work.
Yeah.
Because that's where I came from. Daughters of immigrants. We work all the time. Yeah. We don't rest. Guilt is, we feel a lot of guilt. Things changed for me after that. I was like, what is important to me is I'm fulfilled in the work that I do.
Yeah.
What's important to me is that I take care of myself and I reparent myself so I can be the mother that my daughter needs. What's important to me is that I have flexibility in my time and I can drop her off at school and pick her up at school. I spent the first year and a half of her life home with her, taking calls with her and her school in the background. And I was able to do that because I switched my priorities. I was like, I don't want to make work and my career my life. My daughter is my life now. And if it takes me away from her, or if it makes me an irritable, angry, resentful parent, then it's too high of a price to pay. And that is what changed my life. Literally, I changed my life to be the mother that she needed. And that's what ultimately brought me to doing what I'm doing. Because I can, with all honesty, she asked me this the other day when I was dropping her off at school. She's like, Mommy, why do you have to work? Why do you have to go to school? And I was like, baby, you have to go to school because, you're going to make friends, you're going to play. And she's like, Mommy, why do you have to work? And I was like, Mommy, because I help people. And I was able to say this, whereas before I would have been like, well, I have to go to work.
Yes.
I have to help companies make money. And now I'm like, I can truly.
You're committed. Yes.
To help people. And so me being purposeful is like everything. I'm not willing to compromise that. I'm not willing to compromise anything that takes me away from her or that, makes me be like, I can't pay attention to you or and I know that does happen, but I want to feel like I'm leaving the world better for her.
Oh my goodness. You're just the reason why I'm tearing up is because I feel like you're speaking to me because this is what we have in common. As I forgot to mention that time off I took off from work. Is I quit working at the bank because I told myself I am not going to work at a job that nothing wrong against working at the bank, but I didn't like it. I was a business banker helping businesses open up their business accounts and following their dreams. So every time they came into my little desk in the cubicle, they were so passionate about their business. And I was like, I want that. I need that. I was like, I don't know what I want to open up a business, but I don't know what. I don't know what I would do. But I took that time off from work because I was like, I am not going to leave my son for a job and spend 40 hours a week if I'm not happy in that job.
Yes. That is such a powerful story.
I think that's why we relate so well. Like our stories kind of like they're kind of similar. And that for me, it's like right when and we talked about personal branding on Friday. And I talked about how I was lost in my 20s. I didn't realize like the strengths and superpowers I had until I became a mother of like helping people, coaching, mentoring. So this is like giving me chills right now because it's like taking me back to how I felt in 2014. Wow.
And it's like, it's this awakening of being like, wow, I see, firstly, you saw how other people reacted to like, I'm going to open up, I have a business, and you see, and you're just like, oh, it's possible. But I think sometimes if you don't witness it, like you don't even recognize what's possible because you're not experiencing it, or you're just like, okay, I'm just charging forward. But it really does. It just, you see yourself through different eyes, for sure. I think when you have kids, you see yourself through their eyes. So I'm really glad that you shared that, because I feel like this doesn't even necessarily mean that your purpose is out in your own business. I don't believe everybody should have their own business. It's a lot of work.
Right. Yes.
It brings out all your stuff that you thought that you dealt with, right? But that does not mean that you should ever stop seeking purpose in what you do. And even just in finding your voice at work and like advocating for yourself. So if you feel like, you're in a job that's thankless, or you feel like, you're not appreciated, you don't have room to advance, you feel small, look at those things, because you can change that. You can change that. And so sometimes the pivot could just be like, how do you want to feel every day? How do you want to feel when you go to work? What do you want to look forward to every day? Like, those are the questions you should be asking yourself. And is that in your day-to-day life? If not, maybe it's just finding that, and it's not coming up with a huge pivot. And it's just, I want to feel more significant. I want to have a voice. I want to have a hand in changing something, all of that. So
Martin says, don't forget to say how you manifest it in a year prior. And I talked to my clients about this too.
Yes.
Speak things into existence, journal, because that's what I do all the time. And holy crap, everything that I've been dreaming of doing, I'm doing now on LinkedIn. I've always wanted to have a LinkedIn, like a talk show, or like be on like Wild 94.9. If anyone's out there in the Bay Area.
Yes, I'm from the Bay, so
I was just like, listen to the Doghouse, always like.
I was to get dropped off at middle school, and
I know, in the mornings, right? And I was like, I want to be a DJ. I want to interview people and just talk about life.
Yes, you're doing it right now.
And I'm doing it right now.
It may not be exactly how you pictured it, but you're doing it already. And when you just speak it into existence, write it into existence, what Marta meant was, so she was on my team for 3.5 years, 4 years almost. Like, love her so much. Like, she's so much more than a person on my team. She's my sister. Like, I love her. She said to me, because I said, I don't know, I feel like I want to do something else. I don't know what's next for me after this job. And she asked me to like put a deadline in the calendar of when I was going to leave my last job. And I said, I don't want to make it to 5 years in this role. I don't want to make that anniversary. So she sent me a meeting request. Like, she put it in the calendar. Mariela has like left off to work, which was like my last company. And I left like a month before my 5-year anniversary. And had I not quit when I did, they would have laid me off 2 days later because of COVID. And it was a hospitality recruitment agency. So hospitality, everything shut down. So I spoke it into existence. So sometimes it's just write about this life, write about whatever this is, and it will become more clear if you start like writing it or speaking it into existence.
Okay, you're giving me chills again. Because I've shared this on LinkedIn too. I don't know if I told you this, but Build with June. So now I'm officially, guys, by the way, I'm officially an LLC.
We are a business.
But Build with June launched last year in October 2019 because I wanted to blog about my passion of building community and how I integrate everything from integrating my motherhood stories into my tech career. And I wanted to interview people and share their stories
Did you realize that you're already doing that? Like, I don't know how.
Well, now I'm doing it now, but I did it. I did the blog, right? I launched the blog, but I had no time to interview because I was busy with work, right? And then bam, I got laid off, right? I don't even think I told you this story in April, and I'm like, I don't want to go back to work. I'm just gonna work on my blog.
I'm telling you, sometimes your blessings are handed to you, but they're rarely in the package or the timing that you would have thought. And yes, sometimes people get laid off and it's tragic. I think that you get them given to you in a way that you can handle a lot of times, but it's like it was cleared the way. You called it in, and now when it manifests, it's like, hey, we got to clear the way, because where are we going to put it? You know, so that's the thing. It's crazy.
Well, here I am. I'm clearing my way.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just having to talk with this with a client last night about 2 clients of hers ended early, and I said, "Haven't you been saying how exhausted you are and how you really need space to listen to yourself?" I was like, maybe this is what you called into existence, but you're freaking out because now you're like, "Oh my God, I don't have clients in December." But it's okay, because sometimes you call these things in and it may not be comfortable, but it rarely comes in the package that you think.
No, that's so true. That's why, I just want to do a quick plug-in again, because I am working on my group coaching program, and that's the reason why I'm doing it, is because my inbox right now is just crazy from job seekers asking for help, and I don't have the capacity in my schedule to coach everyone. So I thought this would be a good way just to help more job seekers with my limited time, right?
Yes.
But what was I going to say? I wanted to answer Brittany's question here. She says, I'm struggling with finding my purpose in my career, and in turn, starting to become burnt out and somewhat uninspired. Do you have any advice on what I should do?
I would ask you, kind of like, in the career that you're in now, like, what would make you light up? Is it within this particular role? Is it the industry you're in? What is it about the work that you do that does light you up? And where can you find more of that? Is it in a different type of role? Is it in a different kind of industry? And maybe what is that? Because it could be that, or it could literally just be, sometimes it's literally management. Like, it's just, you don't like who you're reporting to, and it's hard to tell the difference between that. Because, just as an example, I thought I didn't like marketing, but it was literally because what I valued was creativity, and I couldn't be creative because I was really restricted. What I valued was having a voice, but I couldn't do it because it was too restrictive. So I think it's like, what do you value? What does light you up? And what would allow you to have more of that? And for me,
I agree.
Industry, and it could be a different type of role within your same like field. So I think it's starting with that. It's kind of like the things that light you up more. How can you lean in
and
more?
like, think about like the thing that I work with my clients is like discovering your superpowers, because there's differences between superpowers, strengths, and skills, right? Superpowers is something that is like natural. Like, you could just, like, for me, my superpower is like networking and like people, and like being like, being very open. And for me, I translate that and use that as my skill into my recruiting career, because I love talking to people, and that's why I did really well as a recruiter.
Yeah.
Because I embrace my superpower. So that's my thing. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Any advice on that? As far as like,
would you say that the more of those 3 things, your superpowers, strengths, and skills, that you can bring to the table, the more fulfilled you feel?
Yes.
Because what this reminds me of, and you guys look this up, it's Ikigai, Ikigai. And it's a Japanese, I'm just like, exactly what this is, but it's essentially the intersection of 5 worlds. It's what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and I forget what the 5th one is, but it's like, we don't all necessarily get that perfect marriage of all of those 5 things, but if you are missing one, and there'll be certain intersections where if it's, you can get paid for it and you're good at it, that typically is like, it's a job, but it's not a purposeful job. If you can get 3 of them, then it's,
I found it.
There it is. Great. So you see that crossover, looking at this and saying, what is important to you, right? So, for example, if you are in a job right now where you're like, it's stable, I'm really good at it, and I'm making a lot of money, that's your profession. but what direction do you feel pulled to? Is it that you're like, but I feel like I'm not making a difference in the world? Then maybe it's like, how can you make your profession your vocation? How can you find purpose in how you can help people possibly through your work and lean more into what the world needs? But maybe it's that you're not feeling passionate about it. That's what I was lacking. I was like, how can I do a little bit more of what I love within my career? I want to be more creative. Okay, how can I be more creative? Where can I find creativity? Where can I find a bigger voice? Smaller companies. So I was like, this is what is important to you. And if you can find this perfect marriage, wonderful. I created it for myself. You may find this in your career, but this visual always really sticks with me.
Yeah.
Because it's been my goal to really find this intersection.
I love that. I'm going to save this. I'm going to have you now talk about what you do. Before we wrap up.
We're on my LinkedIn.
You're on LinkedIn. This is, by the way, this is your first LinkedIn Live. You're doing amazing.
Thank you. I know. I was like, I feel like I really am on a show. And I really, in so many ways, like this was my identity for like my entire life. Like me being, even to me to not say like, I'm a director of marketing for an international blah, blah, blah. Like I really was like, this is real. Like I have to create something that I love so much that I'm letting go of an identity that I led with for so long.
Right.
Now I'm proud to be able to say like, I'm a life and leadership coach. I led with being a business coach at first, but now I'm like, I do business, but it's as a secondary. Like I work on you. You are my priority as a person before we talk about your goals and we talk about your business. Because that's what changed my life. So that is.
Bring up your website. Is your website here?
Yes, I think that's my page. That's like my business page. Yes.
Wait, is this your website?
God, let's make sure. Oh, that's weird with the fonts. Yes. And so how I really found my mission was kind of thinking like, what are the ways in which I held myself back or I was held back by generational trauma mindset? And ultimately, that is the reason why I integrate life coaching, reparenting, and leadership coaching, particularly for women of color, because we do have very unique challenges. Like we were saying earlier in our life, how we are not necessarily empowered we generally are seen as extensions of our families and extensions of our parents. We're not always, empowered to be a dissenting opinion or find our voice or take risks because immigrants don't take risks. Immigrants do, they work hard and they save their money. And so I'm now finding that gets in the way of you when you're climbing the corporate ladder. We tend to get stuck in middle management, saying yes to everything, being burnt out. We also tend to struggle a lot in entrepreneurship because it's something that requires you to have an intuition and have a voice and take risks and invest money. And you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out on every level. So I have found my purpose in saying, what have I overcome? How did I overcome this as being I was the only woman of color in senior leadership. How did I get there? I pivoted to entrepreneurship. That is not something we do in a lot of times in my culture. How did I do it? And so I integrate these things. And that's why I lead with you first. It's life coaching, it's reparenting, it's leadership coaching. We work on that. And then we focus on your goals. So we help you find your voice and your power before we move into your career goals or your business goals.
Yes. And by the way, I had an amazing strategy call with Mariela last night. And I don't know. She isn't after our call, I was just like, whoo, I'm ready. I'm ready to take on
that call. I was like, oh, we're gonna bring your magic out, June.
Oh, Ian's like, yes, I feel this talk so much. Yes. What else? So what are your okay, before we wrap up, what are your 3 tips to job seekers out there that are thinking of pivoting into a different position or industry, or and also lacking inspiration right now? What's the best way to stay positive during these times?
Ooh, yeah. I feel like I think number one in terms of staying positive is just knowing that every experience and situation that you go through is only going to shape you for the better. And recognizing that everything is temporary and see what you can learn in this season. What is this season for you? Is it a season for revamping your skill set? Is it a season for slowing down? Is it a season for self-care? What do you feel like you're craving the most right now? And I think as far as pivoting in your job, again, it really helped me to say, like, what is it that's firstly more important to you? Is it that you're lacking passion and inspiration? Is it mission? You feel like you're not making a difference in the world? Look at that ikigai and kind of look at what is important to you. And what have you done in your current role or career that has made you feel that way? Is there a way that you can lean more into that? Where can you find that? Can you find it within your current role? Can you find it within your current company? Can you find it outside of work? There's a lot of
Mhm.
value in you just doing things outside of work that can awaken parts of you that you may not be able to do at work. And so maybe it's volunteering, maybe it is doing something creative, maybe it's just like painting on the weekends because you're like, oh my God, my job is so analytical. I feel like I'm awaken that part of your brain. And just don't be afraid to, I really say with pivots, it's leaning away and leaning into. What are you leaning away from and what are you leaning into? And pay attention to how you feel. Does something make you feel expansive and excited, or does it make you feel small and constricted and scared? Like, that is going to be your GPS system to guide you into your next step, whether that is in your life or whether it's a career pivot.
Yeah, I love that. That's great advice. I think
And then
also
just
too.
keeping inventory of your career stories, because we talked about this on the Unity Hour on Friday. It's what are the stories that you would tell about your career so far? Which ones are you most proud of? And just start telling those stories. Start telling them on LinkedIn. Start telling them on social media, because those stories of obstacles you overcame or problems you solved or days you were really proud of at work, that can attract other opportunities. So I would say just start telling your career stories, start seeing how you could be of service to other people, whether that's on LinkedIn, answering questions, sharing what you know. That's what you did. You were just
Yeah,
showing up every day, sharing what you knew, and look what it's turning into.
yeah, and I didn't know I was going to have LinkedIn Live, and I didn't know I was gonna collaborate with the Mom Project, collaborate with you, help
Mm-hmm.
help job seekers out there, and partner up with other organizations
Yeah.
um, that is a great complement to my brand and what I stand for. And I just started doing it by sharing my career stories, and
Yes.
that led me to
Yep.
these amazing opportunities. And that's why I'm always encouraging my community to, if you don't know what you want to do, just start sharing what you know. Like you
Exactly.
said, if there's
Yep.
one thing that everyone goes to you for, whether it's being like marketing. Also, I want to touch on this too because we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
As a job seeker, you really need to think of yourself being a marketer.
Yeah.
How are you going to position? It's like there's like the four. What is it? The four P's in marketing: position, placement,
Positioning,
price.
pricing, placement. I forget. Oh my gosh. But it's positioning. A lot of it is, that's what we spent a lot of time talking about yesterday, was positioning yourself in the market. What do you bring to the table? What is your unique lens? What does your life experience allow you to see or do things differently than someone else?
Right, exactly. And then who's your target audience? Who do you want to attract?
Yes.
Tailor your once you understand your value and what you stand for, like I love how you say like you want to work with like your clients first as far as like their internal work before they
Yes.
start working on their brand or whatever. Then
Mhm.
you could start tailoring your message to the
Yes,
companies that you want to attract,
exactly.
the
Yep.
opportunities that what you want to attract, to the people that you want to collaborate. So this could be
Yes,
another conversation, but
it is. That's what you did. That's what I did. You can narrow it down after you build a community, you build yourself as a thought leader around the things that you care about.
well, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you? I posted Mariela's links in the comments.
Oh, amazing. So, yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can learn more about my life and I share my whole life story, but y'all can find me on Instagram, is where we get real personal. Say hi on Instagram. Yeah, I'd say those two because my website's linked, but you can get to know me better on my Instagram, but connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. This was great to have you. I hope to
Thank you
bring you
so
back
much.
soon. And I know we're
Yes.
probably going to work together more with the Mom Project because that was an amazing Unity Hour. I'll try to share the replay on the comments. But thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
We
And thank
will
you for having
see
me
you, of
on.
course. And then also before I leave, I have another live. It's my last live of the month because I am burnt out from doing lives. But Brittany says, I'm so thankful for this chat and the info that was provided. Thank you, ladies. Of course,
Thank
Brittany,
you,
thank you so much for tuning in.
Brittany.
I am doing a live on Thursday at 1 p.m. with Broadus Palmer and Jay Taylor. Broadus was just recently announced and the top 5 LinkedIn Voices. He's the founder of Level Up in Tech, as well as Jay. He started his career as an office assistant with no degree, non-traditional background, and now is starting his new role as, I think, a PM, product management and staff leader at Twitter. So that's going to be a really interesting story for you guys to listen to. And these are the stories that I want to tell. Stories of the underdog, stories of people that don't have traditional backgrounds, that have paved their way into being the tech giants and entrepreneurs that they are. So we'll see you guys soon.
Yay.
Mariela. Bye, guys.